welcome to the one and only Team 2.
Hey guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, December 29th, 2025. And I suppose the first thing to say is I hope you all had a very, very Merry Christmas. As always, it just sort of comes and goes pretty quick, doesn't it? So what was it, 4 days ago? Seems like 3 weeks ago, doesn't it? But as I said, I hope you had a great one. I know a lot of people don't sort of like the Christmas sort of thing, and some people have bad memories and all that sort of stuff. But I think if you did celebrate it, again, I hope you had a good one. A little bit happening in boxing. You would have seen every day the walking boxing episodes. The talk is now, or the focus is now switched to Zarafa versus Nikita Tszyu. I suppose it'll really gather momentum over probably the next week after New Year's comes around. Isn't it amazing that in 3 weeks, it's all under 3 weeks, it's all going to be going down. So I can't wait. I see there's a few questions about it in the chat at the moment, and I'm sure I'll analyse it to death. You guys will analyse it to death. But look, I said the other day, it's a great thing for Australian boxing. Really looking forward to what it brings to Australian boxing. Okay, it's not Tim versus Michael, but I think it's still going to be a great spectacle. And can little brother restore the pride of the Tszyu name, or uphold the Tszyu name? We will see. If you're new to the show, I'm sure most of you guys out there have been on here before. As it says there, Talking Boxing. Put your comments, remarks, questions, whatever it is, in the chat. And let's talk some boxing. And also special shout out to those that listen to Spotify or on Spotify after the fact. All right, let's get into it. I can see we've got a few people in the chat already. And we have D-Star. Where are you there, D-Star? I did see your comment there. What do you got there? What did I say? Did I call you D-Star? Sorry, Big J. Sorry, I'm just looking at another comment about D-Star there. If I said that, I'm not sure whether I did. It's Monday-itis at the moment, but Big J, old mate Big J. What do you got there, mate? How does 2026 look for Australian boxing? To be honest, I'm not anticipating a great year, with George, Sam and Tim all losing the title fights this year and only Andrew Maloney looking at a shot. Well, don't be so pessimistic, Big J. I know you got to tell it the way it is, and of course you got to punch between the eyes, all that sort of stuff. I get it. Look, I'm with you to some extent, Big J. I mean, we don't know how things are going to pan out. Let's face it. I'm with you. On the surface, doesn't look great straight away. If you take Jai Pataya out of it, who knows what's actually in store for Jai? He's had 3 sort of okay-ish fights for the year. Look pretty good in a couple of them, but is no sort of closer to the Zerto fight or Benavides fight or any of those big guys. So will he continue another year of just pretty much treading water? We'll see. Tim, well, your guess is as good as mine on Tim. I think he's going to spend most of the year, Big J, just sort of rebuilding himself. I spoke to Mike Altamura, and you would have seen, if you're on the sites all over the boxing sites, you'll see that Mike was interviewed as well and said sort of the same thing. He said, look, we're definitely not going to be rushed into anything. We want at least 1 to 2 more, we'll call them tune-up fights, comeback fights, whatever they are. And then maybe the tail end of 2026, we might look at sort of stepping up a little bit. George is pretty much in no man's land as well, Big J, isn't he? Coming off a pretty disappointing loss to Richardson Hitchens. Is back in training. As teased, there's something coming about. Big fight with some sort of, I think he said a former world champion or something. So we'll see. I think George has still got something to give. I'm just not so sure it's at the top level. But who's the world champions at 140? So I don't favour George against pretty much any of those guys. I mean, we'll look at it at the moment. The rankings, they change all the time, don't they? All right, so at 140, I don't think he's actually rated anymore, is he? So you got Richardson Hitchens. Obviously, that fight's not going to happen. Gary Antoine Russell, Sabriel Matias, and Teofimo Lopez. I doubt any of those fights are going to happen anytime soon if George happens to get in a position to fight for those belts. I'm really glad that George is continuing on. As I said, I think he's still got a fair bit to offer. I just don't know whether it's going to be at the yeah. Well, he's now campaigning at 126, isn't he? So, who are the champions? Angelo Lee's got the IBF. Nick Ball, well, obviously that's out. It's got the WBA. Bruce Carrington is now, well, Ray Vargas is the champion in recess, but Bruce Carrington is fighting Carlos Castro for the vacant belt. It's coming up soon, and Rafael Espinoza. Obviously, he's already lost to Nick Ball. I wouldn't favour him against Bruce Carrington, I wouldn't have thought. Maybe Espinoza and Leo. Well, maybe. And, of course, throw in Liam Paro in there as well, mate. I'm sure he'll be in the mix, but still got a little bit to go. Obviously, if he gets past Donovan, looks like Crocker will be after that. So what looks like an average year on paper could quite easily turn into a mega year for Aussie boxing. I mean, let's just hypothetically to go through them. Jai's obviously already got the belts. He'll fight for world titles. Tim has a couple more tune-ups before the end of the middle of the year. Might get a Xander Zayas at the end of the year. So bang, he's back into a world title fight. Sam Goodman will be rated at 126 probably by all the organisations. Let's just say an Espinoza or a Leo says, well, we'll take him. All of a sudden, he's got a title shot. George Cambosa's still a big name. Something might happen. Bang, he's got a shot. Liam Paro beats Donovan. Crocker, he's got a shot. Andrew Maloney's going to get a shot. All of a sudden, we've got, what was that, 5, 6, 7 fighters possibly fighting for world titles. So it can turn around pretty quick. But I'm with you, old mate, Big J. On the surface, not looking great, but we will see. What's got there? All right, so things might be a bit bleak for the fellas next year. The girls are riding the wave at the moment, but for the lads, it looks like the tide is out. Your thoughts here? Well, I've just given my thoughts there. Big J, sorry I didn't see your second question there, but I think I've answered that one. If things go bad, we could see the retirement of Zarafa and the fallback of Paro before January is even over. Well, maybe, yeah. Well, Paro's got a very, very tough fight in Paddy Donovan. No guarantees in that one for sure. I mean, I take my hat off to both guys. Paro obviously Liam Paro wants to get back into a big world title fight as quick as possible. Paddy Donovan coming all the way over from England, so putting it all on the line. Look, and this is the thing with Michael Zarafa, Big J. I said in my video a couple of days ago, Michael did say all the pressure was on Nikita. I think I see it the other way around. I think all the pressure is on Michael Zarafa. If he loses, it's over. It's all over. If he's not being taken seriously now by the top guys at middleweight, how's he going to be taken seriously if he loses Nikita? As I said, he's barely scraping into the calculations at the moment at 160, even though he is rated by all the organisations. Where is he? So he's ranked number 13 by the IBF. He's ranked 4 with the WBA. Not getting another shot at Lara, though, you wouldn't have thought. With the WBC, he is ranked... Actually, he's not ranked with the WBC. And with the WBO, he is number 8. So if he loses to Nikita Zubal, he's out of the picture. If he's not already out of the picture at the moment, he would be if he loses Nikita. So massive, massive stakes for Michael Zarafa. And I've just got a feeling the only reason he's taken the fight is because maybe No Limiter said, Michael, we're the only ones here willing to back you in this country. You take the fight or see you later. The other thing is, obviously, the money might be too much to refuse. And I think third is that he just hasn't really got any other options at the moment and probably sees Nikita as a bit of a nice little keep busy fight, I suppose. But I'll say again, if he loses this fight, that's it. That's curtains for Michael on the international stage. It's as simple as that. And as for Nikita, I just think it'll be a setback. Now, it could be a very serious setback if he says, you know what, this boxing game's not for me. I'm just going to walk away. I've lost to Michael. I've had 12 fights, whatever. I don't think Nikita would, if he stepped away, would even look back, wouldn't even look over his shoulder. He'd just move on and forget about it. I think he's that type of guy. And if he beats Michael, well, anything can happen after that. So I think Nikita has everything to gain, nothing to lose. It's Michael Zarafa with everything to lose and pretty much nothing to gain. He's not going to enhance his world rankings, you wouldn't have thought, by beating an unranked... Well, actually, he's not unranked, is he? He's ranked at 154. Whereas, well, he's ranked number... If you can believe this, he's ranked number 6 with the IBF, but the first 2 rankings are vacant. So technically, he's ranked number 4 with the IBF, Nikita Tszyu. Not ranked with the WBA. He's not ranked with the WBC either, but I think he's ranked. Yeah, he is. He's ranked number 12 with the WBO. So it's not like Michael's going to gain a lot by beating Nikita Tszyu. My thoughts on it though, Big J, is that this means a lot to Michael Zarafa. He's had to endure hell. He's gone to hell and back in the last 4 years since that ill-fated Tim Tszyu fight goes. So I've got a feeling this is really personal for Michael Zarafa, and he actually said it himself in the interview or the sit-down that he did with Nikita. He said, I want to get that microphone off Ben Damon, and said, I told you so. That's what I really want to do. So even though he hasn't got much to gain career-wise, I think this would just be a massive up yours to all the doubters, probably including myself, to say I did it. Now, I will also mention that if he does beat Nikita Tszyu, I'll say, all right, well, okay, well done. You proved me wrong. But does it really prove that much by beating a 12-fight, pretty much pro novice in Nikita Tszyu? I don't think it's... I mean, it was Tim Tszyu, hey, different ball game. But Nikita Tszyu, yeah, apart from telling all us doubters to go get stuffed, not sure what else is in it for Michael Zarafa. But I think for him, he will sleep a lot easier at night knowing that he got the better of a Tszyu and stuck it up all the rest of us. So we'll see. All right, Shadow Boxer. What do you got there, mate? So I sparred 3-minute rounds at my local boxing club. And after the first round, I realised very quickly the massive difference between being fit and fight fit. Jesus Christ, that stomach fatigue. Well, mate, that's the thing. And, you know, I'm sure now that you've experienced it, you'll know what people are talking about when they say, well, hey, 3 minutes mightn't sound much, but when you're actually in there with someone that's actually coming after you and putting the pressure on you, 3 minutes is a long, long time. Especially when you're in a prize fight or a world title fight or whatever, and you're fighting 12 threes. I mean, that's why they're professional. They do it for a living, so they sort of pace their way through it. But the one thing I'll say, Shadow Boxer, is don't worry. If you continue to spar and you're doing 3-minute rounds, don't worry. Eventually you will get even just sparring fit. At the moment, it's all just, you're thinking, how the hell am I going to do 5, 6, 7, 8 3-minute rounds? I guarantee once you've done it a few times, it gets a little bit easier. You tend to just pace yourself through it. At the moment, it's all excitement and anticipation and adrenaline and all that sort of stuff, and it really drains it out of you. So you'll be right, I promise. But you're right, it is a massive difference between just doing 3 minutes on the pads or on the bag, whatever, to actually being in the ring and actually fighting with someone or even sparring with someone for 3 minutes at a time. So I'm glad you've done it, mate, because not many people get to do it and experience what it's like to actually punch on with someone in that type of situation. So Asbot is in the chat. Away, Asbot, Merry Christmas to you too there, mate. What do you got there? I think Nikita is going to tear MZ a new asshole. Well, look, I'm sure over the next couple of weeks, Asbot, there'll be lots of people having their say and giving their previews and all that sort of stuff, and I know I'll be one of them. But I am legitimately looking forward to the fight. I'm really keen to see what both of these guys bring to the table. Can Nikita rise to the occasion? Can Michael Zarafa back up what he's saying and say that Nikita's no good and he's world class and all this sort of stuff? So, look, my early tip has always been, I think, Nikita. I think, and again, I'll preview it probably 5 times before we get to fight night and discuss it. But my thoughts early on is that I think Nikita can stop Michael Zarafa. I think the only way I can see Michael Zarafa winning is actually nailing Nikita Tszyu, who might get careless. That's the only way I can see him winning. I can't see him going out there and putting a beating on Nikita and stopping him that way. I can't see him putting decisioning Nikita. I think if he catches Nikita when he's unaware or careless or whatever, I think he can finish him. But I think if it's just head-to-head, I think Nikita will pretty much win this fight very, very comfortably. I think his overall boxing IQ, his sharpness, I know Michael doesn't give him a lot of credit in that area as far as his IQ goes, but just watch him. Very smart fighter. The problem is, though, is as we've all discussed in the past, he can get emotional. He can get caught up in a firefight. When he's fatigued, he doesn't really know how to hold. So all these little things come into it. Now, that's why, obviously, Michael Zarafa is a big chance to win. But I just think if it's stand-up, head-to-head, I think Nikita wins this pretty clearly. But that's just me. All right. Drew, how are you, Drew? I saw your mate D-Style absolutely trashing the Asofa Solomona fight on the undercard of Zarafa versus Zoo. And I agree. Let's not forget people were analysing a fight between AJ and a former Disney kid. Yeah, well, you're right, mate. I don't think I went as far as to analyse it. I was more just sort of fascinated in whether it would be fair income or not. That was probably the only way I analysed it. I thought if it's serious at all, it goes the way it went. If there's any script to it or whatever it might be, then questions have got to be asked. But there were YouTubers or whoever's out there actually analysing whether Jake Paul actually had a chance to beat AJ. As far as D-Style, he actually messaged me a couple of times during the day, Drew, before he did that episode, and he wanted a bit more information on Solomon. And I said, look, I don't know much about him except he's a rugby league player. And I did watch that episode too, Drew, and I agree with everything D-Style said. He actually, I agree, but I don't agree. I agree with what he said about where are maybe the elite women's fights on there instead of a rugby league player, but also I do get the reason why No Limit have put this fight on, because it's going to bring massive amounts of eyeballs to this event. Obviously, all the rugby players will be at the event, all the rest of it, so I get it why they're doing it. I just think they might have been able to have the cake and eat it too and have him on the card, even the main card, but have a elite women's fight on there as well. Now, I'm not saying I'm the advocate for women's boxing, saying let's go, but I just think, as I've always said, they hold the keys to the Ferrari as far as boxing in this country goes. They've been entrusted to help grow boxing in this country. All the TV deals and all the rest of it, and the funding and sponsorship, all that sort of stuff. I just would have thought part of that would have been, in this day and age that we live in, that part of it would have been, all right, well, we'll back you and give you the exclusivity with the TV and everything, but we want to see women's boxing grow, and that includes putting an elite female fight on the card. I'm just going to look at the main card for a second, and I think was it Liam Paro? Liam Paro, Liam Wilson. All right, let's have a quick look. Actually, I don't think it brings up actually the main card. Hang on. All right, so obviously Nikita Michael, Liam Paro, Paddy Donovan. So Dempsey McKeon and Tuose Vasawacha. That's probably the fight, in my opinion, they could have dumped and put on the main prelim card. If they wanted to have Nelson Asofa Solomon, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, by the way, I've got no idea who he is. That would have made more sense to have Nikita and Michael, Liam Paro, Paddy Donovan, the Solomona and Lattimore fight, Liam Wilson fight, and then have a female fight on there. Whether it be Jazzy Parr, whether it be Shannon O'Connell, whoever. I just think, well, the Shannon O'Connell, Chanel Dargan fight is on a Wanderers promotion card. That would have been the perfect fight to put on there. Or a Jazzy Parr rematch, whatever it might be. So I just think they've sort of missed the boat a little bit on it, Drew. And as I said, I'm surprised that the powers that be haven't said, guys, we want you to have a female fight on the card. Not to mention, there are some monetary benefits to it as well. A lot of the tourism mobs and the governments and all that sort of stuff have special grants for big female sporting events, and they would have pumped some money into a fight. So anyway, they made their decision, and they run with it. But yeah, I did see it, Drew, and you're right, he did absolutely torch No Limit, didn't he? All right. Drew, again, the more the Zoo versus Zarafa fight gets closer, the more I like Zarafa on points. People mention Zarafa losses to Lara, Brooke, and Quillen, but Zoo is multiple levels down from that standard. Yeah, I don't think Nikita has shied away from that either, Drew. I think he's been pretty open to say, yeah, no, I'm not those guys. And I think in the sit down that Zarafa said exactly that. He said, well, mate, you're not those guys. And Nikita said, no, I'm not. So I think he gets it. What you got to remember, though, Drew, I understand what you're saying there, but look at those fights, okay? Now, I'm at risk of bearing the brunt of a Michael Zarafa tirade here, but those losses, Arizona Lara, blown out in a round and a half, obliterated, wiped off the map. Peter Quillen, carried out on a stretcher with the face mask on, the oxygen mask. I know that was a little bit over the top. but carried out on the stretcher. Cal Brook barely won a round. I know Michael said, well, I lost by 3 rounds. Yeah, because Cal Brook pretty much just put the cue in the rack in the last 3 rounds and pretty much gave them away. Before that, it was a dominant performance from Cal Brook. So what I suppose I'm trying to say, Drew, is that it's one thing, this is what I always say, it's one thing to fight the best, but it's another thing to be competitive or beat the best. And he just hasn't gotten near it against those guys. And that's probably why I'm going the other way. Now, again, I don't want to have Michael come after me or anything like that, because I truly admire him for what he's done. He's always fought in other people's backyards. He's always gone over there and flown the Aussie flag and done it his way. So I applaud him for it. But I'm just stating facts. And as Oscar De La Hoya says better than anyone, you're not a hater if you're stating facts. And the facts is that Michael did not fire a shot against any of those 3 guys. Wasn't really competitive against any of those guys. Late in the fight against Cal Brook, I know, but I got a feeling that Cal Brook could have ended that fight pretty much any time we wanted to. Just my opinion. And the Lara and Quillen fights were disasters. So that's where I'm coming from. And that's my opinion. Again, I admire Michael for going overseas. He's always had the big fights away from home, probably bar the Jeff Horn fight. So I take my hat off him for that. But as I said, it's not hating if you're just telling it the way it is. And that's the way it is. And that's why I don't really subscribe to that theory, Drew. You're right. Zoo is not at that level, but Michael Zarafa isn't either. That's probably what I'm trying to say. He's proven that he's not at that level because he hasn't been competitive against those guys. I'm just saying it the way it is. So anyway, give me your opinions on that. I'm sure that'll go down like a ton of bricks. All right. Nakatani. Where was that comment there from? Who was it? Drew. Where are you, Drew? These comments are still all over the place at the moment. I think actually I'm going to put that away and just go through the comments on screen there. I know they're all out of order, but it is what it is. Sorry, did I miss that one from you, Big J? I hope you had your Christmas went well. Thanks, Big J. I did, mate. All I wanted for Christmas was to KO that chump. The chump's 2 front teeth, I'm thinking it is, but he's still ducking in, hiding behind his mother's skirt, maybe next year. Well, he's actually hiding over in Tokyo, I think, isn't he, Big J? I saw his social media that he's over there, and my oldest son just came back from Tokyo, and now Jay's over there. So I think he celebrated Christmas over there. So no, he's a good man, Jay, and maybe one day you'll get it on there, Big J. All right, Drew. The Nakatani razor close decision solidified my thoughts about an Inoue victory between the two even further. Nakatani will have his moments, but Inoue will win the fight comprehensively, in my opinion. Yeah, well, he didn't really instill a lot of optimism in supporters, did he, Drew? This is Junto Nakatani. Yeah, look, he made... I won't say it was going to be an easy fight, but he made the fight a hell of a lot harder than maybe what it needed to be. And don't take anything away from Sebastian Hernandez. He actually turned up and put on a great fight, and I thought it was really, really close. I did give it to Nakatani, probably by the same score as the other two judges did, 115, 113, but it was close. It was close. Did it give me any faith in he's gonna bring it against Inoue? Look, it's a hard one, Drew, because I'll admit it wasn't, and I'll agree, it wasn't his best performance, but I just think, like these massive super fights, both fighters tend to rise to the occasion. I've just got a feeling that no matter how ordinary Nakatani looked last week or on the weekend, I think he'll bring it against Inoue. I'm with you, though. I don't think it'll be enough. I think Inoue will end up winning the fight, and yeah, probably comprehensively. I'm still trying to get my head around the way I think it's going to go. Is it just going to be a Hagler-Hearns type of situation, because they're both that type of fighter where it could happen, where it's just open season, no defense, let's go, or it could be a technical sort of chess match. I doubt that, though, because especially Naoya Inoue, he hasn't got that in him. He hasn't got the patience in him to box for 12 rounds. He's going to, at some stage, really put it on Nakatani. But if Nakatani fights the way that he did against Hernandez, getting nailed the way he did, then it's going to be one-way traffic for Inoue. But I'm with you at the moment. I haven't 100% made up my mind how it gets done. I just think Inoue wins the fight. Asbot says, I just reckon Nikita is on the way up, and I don't rate Zarafa that much. Yeah, well, It's your opinion there, mate. Ado, I can definitely see Zarafa schooling Nikita from the outside. In saying that, can he do it the full 10 rounds? Yeah, well, this is the thing about the fight, Ado. I'm not going to argue with anyone that says exactly what you said there, because it could be that way. I just don't see it going that way. I just think watch the two of them fight. Now, just I suppose take off the Zarafa fan club glasses and Nikita fan club glasses and just watch both guys, even if it's just highlights of both guys. And this is the way I sort of break it down. Go and watch Nikita. Not when he's getting, again, this is the one big asterisk beside him, but just when he's actually in there against those guys, his poise, his precision, he can punch, he's got speed. Very, very good fighter. Look at him that way. Then look at Michael, who is okay with the skill level type of stuff, but I just don't see him being overly skilled. I don't think he's a big puncher, but if he does get you hurt, he's a good finisher, if that makes sense. I can just see, again, as I said earlier, if it's just a stand-up, toe-to-toe type of fight, I can just see Nikita just being able to just nail Michael repeatedly. And as I said before, the only way I give Michael the opportunity to win the fight and to see him winning the fight is if maybe Nikita does well in the early rounds and then Michael just nails him with a shot that Nikita doesn't see or whatever. And that to me is his only chance of winning. I'll be honest. But it's interesting to hear your thoughts, and you think that Michael could actually school Nikita from the outside. See, for me, I just cannot see that happening. I cannot see Michael Zarafa schooling Nikita from long range. As I said, the only way I can see him winning is if he nails Nikita with a shot from the bleachers. That's the only way I can see it happening. I think if it's just a technical type of fight from the outside, like you said there, I think Nikita wins the fight very, very easily. But I like your opinion there, Ado, and that's cool. Let's hear some more there, guys. All right, Ryan. Can't wait for the Zoo Zarafa fight. Still believe Nikita gets a stoppage. Could be wrong, but that's why we pay for the fight. 100% Ryan. And the one thing I want to say about this fight is I don't want to hear, I'm not paying $60 or $70. I understand the cost of living, that's different. But if you just do it because you don't want to do it, are you really a true Aussie boxing fan? These are the fights that as Aussie boxing fans we crave. And not just the main event. The undercard is really solid. So hats off to No Limit for getting not only this fight done, but the undercard as well. So before I get asked, is it worth the money? 100% it's worth the money. I'll be happily forking over the money, 100%. So I don't want to hear that it's not worth the money, because it is. That's my opinion anyway. Does Nikita get the stoppage? I think he's capable of it, Ryan, 100%. But you're right, that's why we pay for it. Drew says, I don't completely disagree. This is about Asbot saying that Nikita wins easily, but both are heavily flawed, which further adds interest. Well, that's a really good point there, Drew. This is probably underlines what I think I've been trying to say all along as well, and you've just hit it on the head. Both are so, well, I won't say heavily flawed, but both have got the type of flaws that either one could just nail the other one. And the flaws are that Nikita does get very careless, no good with being able to clinch or hold or move, whatever. It gets drawn into a firefight too often. Michael, I think, has his chin up in the air way too much, can get excited if he thinks you got you hurt and just start wailing away and leave himself open. Pulls straight back out with his chin in the air, doesn't sort of move to the sides too much. Both of these guys, like a lot of fighters, obviously got flaws. But the flaws that they've got really do expose them to the other guy. And that's what's so fascinating about the fight. And look, again, I'll say, I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Zarafa wins, but if it all goes the way, I think by just ticking the boxes and the analysis, Nikita Zoo should win this fight. Should win the fight. But that's not always the way it goes, is it? All right, Asbot, my answer is no, Ado. Eventually, Nikita will close the distance and find him. Then you'll see Zarafa begin to crumble. Nikita's rough as nails, just my take. I'm with you there, Asbot. I think Nikita's going to surprise a lot of people in this fight. And again, I'll say, I think it could be a dominant performance from Nikita Zoo over Michael Zarafa. Michael's done a great job of getting to where he is at the moment. He's done a great job of marketing himself, whether that's a villain or whatever it might be. Great job in getting to where he has and his world ratings, and he's had big fights overseas, all the rest of it. But I've just got a feeling in this fight you might just see a real sort of breakdown from Nikita against Michael Zarafa. Another fight I want you to go have a look at is probably the Jeff Horn fight. Now, I know the 9th round, Jeff got out of jail. He was gone. And I fully agree that the referee really dropped the ball by allowing Jeff Horn, in the middle of getting pummeled by Michael, to go get the eye cut and gave him 45 seconds to a minute rest. And then he came back with that shot from the gods and dropped Michael. But look at outside that 9th round, up until the first 8 rounds. Jeff Horn completely dominated Michael Zarafa, dominated him, pretty much won every single round. So I know in the first fight, Michael got Jeff Horn, but when you saw a switched on, prepared, at weight Jeff Horn, it was pretty much one-way traffic, apart from that 9th round. But that's what I'm basing it on. And that's where I think you've got to look at to see Michael's sort of skill set. But I just think he's done so well to get to where he has. I just think it's not going to be enough against Nikita, but we'll see. Richard, how are you there, Richard? Surely shotgun beats Dargan if that fight is still on. Yeah, well, as far as I know, it's still on, Richard. It's going to be, is it February, I think? I'll just have a quick look on Boxer. I think it's February. I know she's over in Bali at the moment with her young son. I'm not sure it's even on. Oh, yeah, it is on BoxRec. All right, so it is February the 26th. Don't really recognise the other guys on the card, but Chanel Dargan, Shannon O'Connell over 10-2s. I'm pretty sure it's for a WBO regional, I think, or IBF. One of those anyway. It is for a regional belt, so the winner will be world ranked. He's still on, and I think shotgun beats Chanel Dargan pretty comfortably, Richard, if I'm being honest. All right, Ado. The fight I'm a little concerned about is Paro and Paddy. He is a smaller man, fighting career welterweight. Papo exposed some flaws. Hopefully I'm wrong. Good call, Ado. Yes, I'm with you. I think, look, in my opinion, Paddy Donovan probably should have won both fights against Liam. Crocker. I think he should have won both of those fights, and for different reasons, he blew both of them. He's a good fighter. I think Paro will win the fight, but it will not be easy, and it could potentially be a slip-up for Liam. Dangerous fight, but I'd take my hat off to Liam as well. He wants to fight for another world title, and Paddy Donovan is the way to get there, so he's going to take him on, and, of course, the winner will fight Crocker. Will there be a Crocker-Donovan 3 if he wins? I don't know, maybe not. There has been talk that Crocker might actually fight Haney, so we'll see what happens there. Dangerous fight, Ado. I'm with you. I'm going to stick with Liam to get the job done, but it will not be easy. And if he does beat Paddy Donovan, then he has well and truly earned his world title shot. Richard, where do you rate Glenn Kelly? He was very underrated here. I rate him pretty highly, Richard. What was his final record? I'll just put it in the in BoxRec there. Glenn Kunga Kelly, 31-3, 1 draw, 17 knockouts. All right, so he lost to Roy Jones Jr., obviously. What was his record back then? So he only had a few, 2, 4, 6. He went 3-3, so he would have been 28-0 when he fought Roy Jones Jr. Isn't it amazing that some of the fighters that we've had that have fought these elite fighters at their absolute peak? You go back to Hector Thompson fighting Roberto Duran, and Tony Mundine fighting Carlos Monzon, and this one here, Glenn Kelly fighting Roy Jones Jr. I might actually do maybe a walking boxing episode about that. About some of our Aussies that have fought some of the biggest superstars ever. Definitely underrated. Rich, he doesn't really get a lot of mentions, does he, when we're talking about the greatest Aussie fighters ever? I wouldn't put him anywhere near the top 10 if I'm being honest, but no, very, very good fighter. His other losses, by the way, were to Paul Briggs after the loss to Roy Jones. He was stopped in 4 rounds, and he lost to David Haye. He lost to David Haye. Jeez. Okay. Yeah. All right. He went up to cruiserweight. I didn't know he lost to David Haye. stopped in 2 rounds in 2005. So, yeah, no, very, very good fighter, Richard. Probably in the top 15 Aussies of all time, I would say. Not necessarily in the top 10. All right, Drew. Zhu and Zarafa will take clean shots in the fight. Neither are defensive wizards. And although Zhu has the edge in power, it's not one-shot power. It's more like hard thudding accumulation power. Yeah, I agree, Drew, but I think he punches harder than Michael Zarafa. Michael can, as I said before, when he nails you, he might hurt you and he can get you out of there. Very, very good finisher, but I don't think he's a massive puncher. I know he decked Isaac Harbin. He's had a few of those sort of lesser lights that he's nailed. He can punch, but I just don't think he's a big puncher, if that makes sense. Nikita Zhu, yeah, I would agree that he's more of an accumulation puncher, but very, very precise, so sharp with his punches, especially early. And I suppose this could be a story of two fights, two halves of fights, the first 5 rounds and the second 5 rounds. I think the first 5 rounds is when you'll see Nikita Zhu absolutely at his most dangerous. I would hope that they don't fall into the Isaac Hardman trap. And what I mean by that is Isaac came out, probably didn't give Michael enough respect as far as his ability and power and everything else, and went after Michael, and probably inexperience was a lot to do with it. And Isaac Hardman's a hell of a lot less experienced than what Nikita is, because at least Nikita's had a lot of amateur fights as well. But he went after Michael, got nailed with a left hook, and then Michael got him out of there. I would think that Nikita will be a little bit more cautious than that, although he has been nailed early in some fights as well, which is another asterisk beside him. But I think for the first 5 rounds, you might see Nikita Zhu pretty much dominate the fight. And then after that is when the big question marks come out. Can he maintain it for 10 rounds and not put himself in a position to get nailed by a Michael sort of punch from the gods, I suppose. So, yeah, it's a fascinating fight, Drew. Certainly will be a one to remember, I would think. Ryan says it won't go to a decision. Well, at least I can't see it. Zarafa said it himself. We'll see. Don't be surprised if it does, Ryan. It could go the distance. I think it could. Sometimes these fights, when you think it's just the only way it will end is in a knockout, goes the complete opposite, because you've got two guys that, regardless of what's said between the two and everything else, they actually respect each other and might be just a little bit weary. And it might become a little bit of a chess match. And as I said before, if that is the case, I see a pretty easy night for Nikita Zhu. If it does get into a firefight at some stage, then Michael has a chance. But will it go to a decision? It could. Quite easily it could, Ryan. Again, I don't think it will, but I'm not ruling it out. All right, we've got is it Try HQ Wagon? All right. Thoughts on Justice Honey in 2026? Well, he's got a big fight. I think it's going to be rescheduled against Latelli, is it? Kiki Latelli. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if they put him in with another in for another big fight at some stage in 2026. There, mate. I think Justice would have gotten a lot of attention and eyeballs on him after the Wardley fight. So I think if he gets past the tally, he might have maybe one more. There's nothing really out there. I wouldn't be surprised at the end of 2026 that they really try and get a big fight for Justice and just see where he's at. Plenty of guys out there for him to fight. I mean, you look at the heavyweight division at the moment, and you might say, well, some of these guys he's not ready for. Well, geez, he absolutely schooled Wardley up until he got nailed, didn't he? So, I mean, let's have a look at the heavyweight division at the moment. Guys like, well, I mean, you got guys like Frank Sanchez, Richard Torres, Big Baby Anderson, maybe Bacoli. Who else is there? Not ready for Itami yet, I wouldn't have thought. That's a bad fight. Hergovich could be another one. Akoli. I'd even put him in with someone like a Dubois. No problems. Jagbar, Zhang. I'd have no dramas putting him in with any of those guys. The only one would be maybe Moses Otama. And the thing is, what you got to remember, you don't really necessarily have to protect records these days. You just have to be almost in the right place at the right time and win the right fight at the right time. I mean, look at someone like a Deontay Wilder. Hasn't even won a decent fight. He's going to get an opportunity to do sick. Joseph Parker was on the scrap heap. All of a sudden, you got a couple of good wins under his belt, straight back in the mix. So Justice is at the age where I don't think it really matters for him. Just keep fighting, keep testing himself. That's the only way you get experience and obviously climb through the rankings. So, yeah, I wouldn't have no dramas with Justice in the second half of 2026, putting him in with any of those guys. Tony, how are you, Tony? How did it come about that the Galveston Giant fought 3 times in Australia, twice in Sydney for a world heavyweight title, and at Richmond Racecourse in Melbourne? Jack Johnson, what a legend. Is that right? I didn't know. Let's have a quick look at Jack Johnson. There's probably a million of them on BoxRec. It was obviously the anniversary, was it a few days ago, of his fight with Tommy Burns in Sydney. Jack Johnson. Whether he even comes up, we'll see. A long time ago. There's lots of Jack Johnson. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually put in Tommy Burns. There's probably a million of those as well. See whether that comes up. Yep, just as I thought. From Australia. Where is he? I won't go in. I mean, there's a million of them. So I didn't know that though, Tony. When I get a bit more time, I'll go and check that out, mate. Richard, even if Zarafa loses, he will continue to fight as it's his life, like Sammy Solomon. Yeah, and look, good on him, Richard. Good on him. I just don't see him at world level if he loses to Nikita Tszyu. I think at 33, 34, it'll be over as far as that part of his career goes. I certainly hope he doesn't continue like Sammy Solomon did and becomes just an opponent and a punching bag for a lot of young up-and-comers. I don't think Michael's that dumb. I'm not saying Sammy's dumb, but I think Michael's, I suppose the other way to phrase it is I think Michael's too smart to just hang around and just become a career opponent, like unfortunately Sammy Solomon has done. Look, who knows? He might try and come back again, might be rematch, whatever it might be, but I just couldn't see any way that Michael comes back from a loss to Nikita. Excuse me there. All right, Drew. I think a loss for either Tszyu or Zarafa is catastrophic. Career ending for Zarafa, but I also think Nikita's stocks drop a lot too as a result of Tim's losses as well. Fair or unfair package deal. I'm with you there, Drew. Yeah, you're right. I think for Zarafa, it's 100% catastrophic. As I've said numerous times, it's over. For Michael Zarafa, if he loses to Nikita. Yeah, look, I don't think Nikita's career would be necessarily over, but you are right as far as his stocks go with the Australian boxing fans. I think if he loses to Michael Zarafa, his cred, if you will call it that, his credibility and standing and all that sort of stuff with his Aussie boxing fans will be done. I don't think he would be a pay-per-view fighter after that. I think it would be so hard to market Nikita if he lost to Michael Zarafa as a potential superstar going forward. And let's just not forget that he's 27 years of age. He's not a young pup anymore. So, yeah, I think if Nikita loses, I think he just won't be taken seriously by the Aussie boxing public ever again. And I've already discussed Zarafa. So, yeah, big stakes, Drew, for both fighters. Ado, the only negative with the Nikita Zarafa card is a rugby league fight on the main card. Standard, no limit, I guess. Yeah, as I said before, Ado, they've got to do it. Look, it probably doesn't take anything away from the card. I just don't think it really adds anything to the card. All right, I don't know what happened there, guys, but I'm back. I think I'm back. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know, it just come up as an error, guys. So if it does happen again, I'm not whether it's because of the heat or something like that. Just come up that there was an error, and I was kicked out. So apologies about that, guys. Let's hope that I'm back. I think I am. All right. I'll continue, Tony. As a kid in Bayswater, what's that say there? It was red hot. Mr. Levere convinced him to spar, and he copped one clean shot. Never ever saw him again. That's the way it rolls, Tony. Sometimes it can happen. He had some really good fighters back in the day. Brian Levere did back at the Bayswater gym. I remember there was a guy, Shane Delaney. Tony, I'm not sure whether you remember Shane. He was a really good young kid, but he ended up getting concussed a couple of times in the ring. And I think he might have had to retire because of some issues upstairs. I think. But I remember seeing him as a kid. I remember John McAlpine was another really good young amateur from that gym. Scott Shug, I think, was the other one I remember as well, Tony. I know most people out there won't have a clue who they are, but Brian Levere, great coach, state and national coach, and obviously around the Bayswater area. Really good coach and good guy. I hope he's doing okay. All right, Richard, the big NRL bloke should fight Barry Hall. I don't ever want to see Barry Hall fight ever again, Richard. I think that is bad news for Barry. I think the couple of beltings that he's had would hopefully just tell him that, hey, it's one thing to be a tough guy on the field, different when you've got someone in the ring throwing punches at you, I would think. And the same goes, who was the other one? Cameron Mooney was always a real tough guy on the field, bit of an enforcer, and got in there and got obliterated in one of those Melbourne fights, I think. So, yeah, not good. But anyway, let's hope Barry stays retired. Speak of the man, there's D-Style. No Limit actually made a post asking would everyone excited to watch and added rugby fighter in the image. Yeah, well, D-Style, I don't know what it's like over there, mate. It's probably our version of Misfits, or one of those stupid things they do overseas. That's our version of it. We don't have that here, but we have No Limit putting on boxing fights between NRL players, AFL players, whatever it might be. I don't think No Limit have ever done an AFL one, but others have. Look, it gets eyeballs on the event. It's a bit of a novelty, but it can get quite dangerous because a lot of these guys have ended up getting knocked out when they've thought they're a little bit better than what they are, and ended up getting nailed by some up-and-comer or some fighter that actually knows what they're doing. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, D-Style. You've had a bit of interaction, haven't you, D-Style, with No Limit over the last week or so, I think, haven't you? And K. Scott as well, I think, commented on your Twitter or X, whatever it is these days. So you like to stir the pot, don't you? All right, Ryan. I think Anthony Joshua should take up Frank Warren's opportunity to fight Wardley. It would make the Joshua versus Fury fight bigger if Joshua was to win. Father time is the issue. I'll watch either way. Yeah, look, I'm with you, Ryan, in theory. But if Tyson Fury is actually serious about fighting Anthony Joshua, then why would you risk it? I know a belt on the line would be great. I understand it. It would create a lot more buzz, but that is a risky fight. And I did say this morning that Anthony Joshua, I think in my opinion, would win, but a hell of a lot of people said no, they disagree and think Wardley, which I'm not going to disagree with either. Dangerous fight for Anthony Joshua. So I would think if Tyson Fury says, yeah, I'm interested, Anthony Joshua should just sit out until Tyson's ready to sign and then get it on. Too much riding on that fight, so any risk whatsoever. And like I said, I'm with you as far as having a belt on the line, but belts don't mean anything in a fight like Joshua versus Fury. It doesn't matter. Like Pacquiao, Mayweather, or one of those fights, belts do not matter. All right, Ado. The odds are currently $3.40 for either Nikita or Zarafa to win by KO. Jump on that now before those odds inevitably shift. I did see, not that I'm a bettor at all, Ado, but I did see the other day that I think Zarafa is a slight favourite. I think it's just a very, very slight head-to-head favourite. I would think it is. It was $1.85 or something. I don't know. Again, I don't bet, but $3.40 for the KO. Not bad odds if I was going to put some money on there. Team Batman Boxing, how are you there, mate? And if you haven't subscribed to Batman Boxing's YouTube page, make sure you do. Old mate, Big J, can I get a birthday shout out for my daughter Lila? She'll be 17 next year for the 18th. I'll give her the same thing I gave her sister, an invoice for all the money she's cost me over the years. I never thought of that, Big J. It's not a bad point. But a very special shout out to Lila, who's turning 17. How many kids you got, Big J? It seems like every few weeks I'm giving one of your kids a shout out. But yeah, all the best to Lila for her 17th birthday. In the prime at light middleweight, who wins, Zarafa or Julian Holland? Geez, there's a question out of the blue there, Tony. The pretty boy versus the fighting farrier. Look, Jules is a really good mate. Of course, I'm going to stick with Julian. Yeah, at light middleweight, though, Tony, I was just going to say I'd go for Julian. He was more of a light welter / welter, I think, more than anything. So at light middle or even middle, maybe you could sway to Michael Zarafa, but no, I'm going to stick with my mate Julian Holler, mate. He's good, another Bendigo boy and a legend. A legend not in boxing, but a legend as a person is what I'm trying to say. Great man. All right, Big J. I think with Nikita versus Mick, whoever gets the first big shot in wins the fight. Yeah, quite possibly, Big J. I could probably see if it's going to be an early big shot lander. I would think it would come from Mick, not from Nikita, but you just never know. You never know. There's Eminem. How are you there, mate? Welcome to the show. Drew says, I agree with you that Zarafa was played with and worked over at elite level, so I understand the argument of what happened in his big fights, but he fought the highest level. It counts for something. Does it? Does it count for something, though, Drew? This is what got me in hot water with Michael last time. When I said those exact words, I said there's a massive difference between fighting the best and being competitive against the best. And he was sort of missing the point that it was not a personal attack. It's just an opinion on where he stands in the world of boxing. That's all. I don't necessarily agree with that, Drew. Yes, he's got the experience of being in a big fight. The build up, I was going to say the interviews and pay-per-view, but Nikita's already been exposed to that numerous times himself. He's probably had more pay-per-views than what Michael Zarafa has. Yeah, I suppose that maybe those big fights overseas have maybe put obviously the experience factor in his favour. But once the bell rings, Drew, and you actually get in there, because I'll let you in on a bit of a secret. I've got no doubt that Nikita, in the lead-up, will be nervous. Biggest fight of his career. Getting in the ring, all the pressure. There'll be a big crowd, massive pay-per-view numbers, and all that sort of stuff. And there will be the nerves. They'll be thinking, geez, this guy had his experience, blah, 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 blah. But I guarantee you, as soon as the bell rings, all that gets forgotten. All gets forgotten. And as soon as that first exchange happens and Nikita gets a bit of a feel with what Michael has to offer, I guarantee it all what you just said there, but all the experience in big fights and all that really counts for nothing. I don't think it counts for anything. I think the only advantage it gives Michael is in the lead up to the fight, getting into his head a little bit. And I think he has managed to do that. But I just think once the first bell rings, you will see all that just go out the window, and it'll just be two guys just going at it. And, for all Michael's experience, I think it will count for naught on the night. I really do. Drew says, I did enjoy D-Style's take on the fact that Sons of Legends should lean into the nepotism when opponents pointed out rather than run from it. I did see that too, Drew, and I'm with you. I agreed. I'm not sure whether D-Style's still in the chat there, but I'm with you. I heard him say, especially talking about Nikita and Tim, saying, hey, man, well, I'll do my best American accent there, but hey, man, yeah, I am the son of a legend. Who's your dad? I like it. And isn't that the ultimate comeback? Instead of trying to play it down, say, yeah, my dad was a legend. So, big deal. And your point? Yeah, okay, added pressure. Well, okay, if you see it that way, I got no pressure. Okay, my dad's a legend. Good on him. I love my dad, and, let's move on. Instead of trying to continually play it down. Because I reckon if he did that, or anyone in that position did that, they pretty much take the sting out of the whole thing. Because can you imagine if Nikita did say that to Michael? Because it keeps coming up. Whether it be Michael or Ben Damon or whoever just keeps asking the question, well, how does it feel, to be the son of a legend? And, and Michael continually saying, hey, yeah, no, mate, you're not your dad and everything else. I wouldn't mind Nikita actually just turning around and say, hey, mate, yeah, my dad's a legend. So be it. Okay, I'm me. Okay, you got it out of your system now? Are you happy? Yes, I acknowledge that he's my dad. And yes, he's a legend. Can we move on? And just take the sting out of the whole thing. And I don't think Michael would have anywhere to go after that. And the questions coming from Ben Damon or all the other YouTubers or whatever ask questions out there, I think that would take the sting out of that as well. Well, how does it feel? Yeah, I told you. Yeah, I love my dad. Great fighter. Great fighter. Any pressure? Nah, great fighter. Anyway, next question. And I love my dad and I'm proud of him. Next question. That would take the sting out of it, I reckon. Maybe. But I did enjoy that, Drew, what D-Style had to say about the nepotism. You're right. Embrace it. All right, Big J. Did you see that Ebony Bridges is returning this weekend? Okay, on the Amanda Serrano card in Puerto Rico. God help us. I thought she was done. I knew she was coming back, Big J. I didn't know it was this weekend. So it's isn't it? So that'll be the first sort of real card of 2026. I'm gathering if it's this weekend. Yeah. Look, I must admit I've sort of gone off Serrano a little bit after the 3 losses to Katie Taylor. I'm not quite sure where she goes there now. Ebony Bridges, hey, good to see her back. I mean, she's coming back from the birth of her first child. Must be massive and good on her. But am I interested? Could not give a toss, Big J, if I'm being honest. But good on her. Good on her. All right. Where are we? All right. Mark, how are you there, Mark? I'll be checking out the weigh-in for Ebony, old mate Big J. Not watching the fight, though, unless it's free at a decent time for me. Now, here's a question for you, Mark, and I'm not sure whether Big J has already commented on it, because I know he's a big detractor or critic of the OnlyFans thing, and Ebony's been one of the pioneers of it, I suppose, for boxers, I think. I don't follow OnlyFans, but I know she's on it, and she promotes it and everything else, and has done for quite some time. Now that she's a mother, how does that work? First of all, do you have the up there with the bikini or the G-string and all that on? I don't know. Should I be talking about this? You know, after just having a baby, should you be up there with the G-string on and everything out for everyone to see and flashing your bits and all that sort of stuff? Do you do that as a mother? I'm not so sure. Maybe now that she's a mother, Mark, she won't be doing that. Anyway, let's change the subject. Oscar Everingham. How are you, Oscar? Personally, I think Nikita will stop Zarafa. Do you think he can be nurtured to world level? I think he can beat Zarafa with his current skills, but will be exposed defensively against bigger punches. Yes, Oscar. I agree that Nikita will stop Michael, yes. Can he be nurtured to world level? Possibly. Oscar, I need to see more from Nikita Tszyu. The Nikita Tszyu we've seen so far, super impressed with his skills, and I've gone on about all his attributes already, but we all know the big flaw is that he can get fatigued and get tired and get caught up and all that sort of stuff. He needs to fix that, or he will be eventually probably knocked out, Oscar. I don't think Michael's the guy to do it, and I'm with you. I think he beats Zarafa with his current skill set. But I think, yeah, like you said there, I agree, he would be exposed against bigger, experienced, elite fighters overseas. Yes, 100%. So he's got some stuff to work on. And as I said, is Michael Zarafa the man to expose it? No, I don't think so. But he will help in the experience stakes anyway. I think Nikita, if he gets past Michael Zarafa, will be a better fighter because of it. But I still think he's a little bit away from really taking a step up. Maybe not from international level. I mean, he would have had 12 fights. That's not a bad time to start stepping up and dipping your toe in the water with those sort of top 20 to 30 type of guys. But as far as top 10, 12, whatever it might be, I still think he's probably at least 18 months away from fighting those types of guys. All right, Mark. I obviously rate Nikita higher than you. I'm not even sure Tim can beat Zarafa at this stage. Yeah, well, I've got a bit of faith, Mark. Again, I don't want to keep running Michael down, but I don't see it. I don't see it with Michael. Really hard to gauge. I know he's beaten Jeff Horn. He had the win over Isaac Harbin as well. But outside those two guys, in my opinion anyway, has never really had a massive win. He fought in some massive fights, but he's been exposed badly in all of them. So that's why I still don't get when people are saying about Michael with the experience levels and, you know, he's fought these guys and he's fought that guy and that guy. And like I said earlier, I just don't think it counts for much because he barely fight a shot against any of those guys. So, but he is that type of guy. As we all know, he can get you out of there. And that's one thing that Nikita and maybe Tim are going to have to be weary of. I don't think the Tim fight happens, Mark. I think the way that Nikita mentioned it in the sit down when he said that Tim will never ever fight Michael Zarafa, you could, by the way he said it, you could believe it. And I think he's made a conscious decision. Tim has that even if Michael obliterates Nikita, he still won't fight him. I just don't think it'll happen. Yeah, and I obviously rate Nikita higher, Mark. I just think he's a talent. I really do. He's got many flaws, but I think they're fixable. Whether he can do it or not is up to him. Jason, I can't look at Ebony the same after she told the media she feels is it her used training socks or sells, is it her used training socks on OnlyFans? Yeah, that's pretty mucked up, isn't it? Selling her training socks. Was she the one who was it selling bath water? Is that right? They sell bath water? That is nuts. Absolutely nuts that people would buy that. Some pretty sick people out there when you think about it. Probably all the ones that are on there mouthing off on social media about people in society and everything else. You know the ones I'm talking about. In their mum's basements, those guys and girls. Richard, Otama and Dubois are not good ideas for Huni, I reckon. Definitely don't think Otama is good for Huni, Richard. Yeah, Daniel Dubois, maybe. Look, might be a tad early. But I reckon if the fight came up and the money was right, Richard, if I was managing Huni, I would say, let's go. I would. Would I seek him out at this stage? Probably not. You're right. Probably not ready for him. But if the management if Frank Warren came knocking and said to Justice Huni, we'll give you $2-3 million, whatever is the fight, Daniel Dubois, I would take it in 2 seconds. 2 seconds flat. All right, Big J. I'll put Nikita versus Mick in the same boat as Paro versus Jarvis. A pointless fight that hurts both careers of each fighter if either loses. Yeah, well, I must admit at the time, Big J, I didn't really see why Jarvis fought Paro. I mean, Liam was a really solid 140-pounder. I think Brock Jarvis was coming up from 122 or 126 or something like that. It was a big, big jump. And I don't think he was ready for Liam anyway. I mean, Liam Paro was knocking on the door of the world rankings, and Brock Jarvis had pretty much beaten, Thais and Filipinos and Fijians right up to that point. So I didn't see the point of it either. I was interested to see what would happen in the fight, and we all did see what would happen. I am with you that the fight doesn't make a lot of sense. I do agree, Big J, that Nikita versus Mick, even though I really want to see it and can't wait to see it, I don't think it makes a lot of sense for anyone except for No Limit. They're the only ones that make sense to me for both these guys from the fight. Because No Limit, I think they've hurt in the last couple of years with Tim, with what's happened to Tim. So I think they needed a big fight, a big super fight, if you will, Australian super fight. But I don't think Mick wanted the fight. I don't think he was really interested in it at all. I just think it's just just a fight because he's got nothing else on the go. So I thought, well, I'll just get the money and maybe put one of these Zuzi out of commission. And I just think Nikita's just done what he's told, to be honest. Maybe Glenn Jennings has talked to No Limit and they've asked Glenn, hey mate, we need Nikita in, we need a big fight. And Nikita's just said, yeah, okay, whatever. And Glenn obviously backs Nikita to win. So yeah, I'm with you, Big J. I do agree. It is a tad pointless, but I'm looking forward to it either way. And Asbot, yeah, even a better point there. It's not really pointless if you win. Good point, Asbot. Yeah, I'm back, Ado, I think. I hope so. Yep, I'm back. There's 45 people watching at the moment, so that's good. Paro versus Paddy Donovan should be the fight of the night. It will be the fight of the night, Harry. Actually, hang on. Let me have a look. Where's the card? I don't want this stream to go down again, by the way, so hopefully it doesn't. All right. Where is the card? I've lost it. Okay. The fight of the night. I think it could be Dempsey McKean and Tuaso Vasawatu, really, if I'm being honest. That will be a war. I don't really know too much about the others. And Liam Wilson, well, he's never in a bad fight, is he? That will be a war. You can be guaranteed. I haven't even seen Rodex Piala fight, but it will be probably nearly fight of the night. Yeah, and I'm with you. But as far as actual quality of the fight, Harry, I agree. Paddy versus Paro will be the fight. All right, Jason. I think this is the only way Zarafa is to stay relevant and in the public eye. Could be, Jason. Over here, Michael is a relatively big name in Australian boxing, but not so in the States or anywhere else in the world. So it is to stay relevant. It is. That's not an insult to say he's got it to stay relevant, because at the moment he's not really relevant whether it be here or overseas, sort of sitting in limbo at the moment. And that's why I think he's taken the fight. Because there's nothing happening overseas. All those middleweight titles are in play. Not that he's anywhere near a middleweight title shot, you wouldn't have thought. And there's a few of those top-ranked guys probably wouldn't want to fight Zaraf at the moment because he's, 2 fights, or is it 3 fights, wherever it is, shy or coming off that Lara disaster. So, look, I think he'll get a little bit more attention overseas if he beats Nikita. I still think there's a lot of people overseas that don't think Nikita exists. They don't know that Tim's got a brother. But yeah, it's a weird fight in a lot of ways when you think about it. And you're right, Zarafa is to say relevant and in the public eye, but it's a big up yours to all us critics, I think. All right, just gonna drink there. All right, Ado, intriguing fight coming up between Dalton and Matthias. Can you see the Brit outboxing him? Definitely has the power to keep Matthias honest. Yeah, I think he definitely has the ability to outbox Matthias, Ado, but I'm just not sure whether Dalton can keep Matthias off him for 12 rounds. Matthias just does not stop. The only really one I've seen sort of confuse him to some extent is Liam Paro. And Liam didn't run from him. He just sort of gave him some angles and had a nice work rate to go with Matthias. The Puello fight was a really good fight, wasn't it? Yes, I could see him outboxing him, but my feelings are, Ado, that Matthias gets to him as the fight goes on and beats Dalton. Should be a really good fight anyway. Big J, you got 4 daughters. Wow, 3 born in December, and the youngest in August. Having 4 daughters is absolute proof that God doesn't like me. Come on, Big J, you've been blessed. 3 daughters. Yeah, Mark says he feels for you. 4 daughters. Good luck. Yes. I'm feeling for those young gentlemen callers. We'll call them Big J when they start coming around to see the daughters and what do they say? Sliding into the DMs and all that sort of stuff. How are you going to react to that? Not sure how I would react with daughters. I've got 2 boys, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, I'm not sure I would like to have daughters at 17, 18 years of age. But I'm sure you will sort them out. Big J, is there any difference between an amateur camp as opposed to a professional camp? Do you look at footage? Is there tactical analysis? Is the camp as long? Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I never was actually part of a professional camp. Obviously, I never turned pro. But I've been part of professional camps as far as some of the fighters I've managed and promoted and been away in camps with fighters as well. So I know what they get up to. Look, they are very different, Ryan. For an amateur sort of comp, because you're not really sure. This is the big amateur tournaments I'm talking about. If it's just a local fight, yeah, of course you'll study some footage, and you might have seen them fight live a few times, might even spar them a few times. So that's a little bit different. But when you go to Olympics, Commonwealth Games, you've got an idea who the main players are. You've seen them live, you've seen them on tape, all that sort of stuff. So yes, you do a lot of footage or looking at footage of those guys. But sometimes you turn up and you have no idea who the fighters are, especially when you fight them in the prelims, in the early fights in the tournament. For the pros, yeah, it's different. They study it religiously, or the trainers do, I should say. They might sit down with the fighters and sort of go through a few different things, but mainly the trainers will dissect it and implement different things in the strategy of camp. So that's the strategic part of it. As far as the training goes, yeah, a hell of a lot different, Ryan. An amateur camp, well, you're never really out of camp as an amateur. That's the thing, because there's tournaments all year round. The most fights I ever had in a year, I think, was about 18, I think it was. So you're always, at the international level I'm talking about, you're always training for the next tournament. And even if you've got a little bit of a spell, you're always doing something because you've got another tournament coming up. Whereas the pros, obviously, you're just training for one fight at a time. So with the amateurs, you're pretty much just always just keeping on top of things. So I remember I'd fight all year. After a tournament, you might have a week off, and then you sort of get back into it slowly but surely, and then you sort of build up to the next tournament. Sometimes you've got tournaments straight on the back of each other. I remember I came home, where was it, from the Worlds in Budapest in 97. I got off the plane, and 2 days later, I was on another plane going to Adelaide for the Nationals. And that's just what you got to do. So after the Worlds is sort of finished over there, it was a few days, so I had to keep sort of training. I had to make weight, and the trip home's always hard because you naturally put on weight going home with the fluid build up and all that sort of stuff. So that was a little bit hard, but you're just always in training in the amateurs, Ryan, and so you're not necessarily in camp. And if you do allow yourself to get out of shape and let yourself go in the amateurs, it's really hard to get back and get some fluidity. Is that the word? Going in what you're doing, because it's almost like a football season, I suppose. You start at the start of the year, and as the year goes on, you get more match fit, and by the time the finals come around, you're ready to go. A little bit the same with amateur boxing. You gear up towards those big tournaments. I'm not sure back here in Australia or just at domestic level. I suppose you fight when you want to fight, don't you? And you're just looking at the states and internationals. But as I said, mate, the professional camps, you train just for one fight and one fight only, and one opponent only. And then afterwards, you have a nice break. And you need a big break. Some of those big fights that those guys have, it might have been, a 12-week process, not just the training, it's the mental aspect of it as well, the pressure involved, the interviews and the press conferences and the public appearances, all that sort of stuff, and just that pressure of being in such a massive, massive fight would really take its toll. So, yeah, they are very different, Ryan. And yes, both, whether you're pro or amateur, 100% they are tactical analysis for sure. What's that, Mark? You're going to watch the weigh-in, Lynden? Yeah, I will, mate, for sure. This is Ebony Bridges. Well, yes, I probably will. Well, not live anyway. I'm sure it'll be all over social media. Old mate Big J. Sorry, I called you Big Mate there. Desley Robinson does OnlyFans, and she's a mother of 2. Very poor example to set for your children. Look, yes, Big J, I'm sort of in agreement with you. I don't like the OnlyFans thing, but hey, I don't think I'll read that one out there, Adam. You're all seeing that. Ryan, respect, old mate. Anyone who was served this country deserves the utmost respect. Have I come back again? It does say I've got some viewers up there. Hang on. Down again. I think I'm back though, guys. Looks like it's just going to be one of those nights. Give me the thumbs up if I'm back. It does say that the viewers are going up again, and the clock is ticking. So put it in the chat there, guys. Am I up again or am I down? It might be the heat. It's boiling hot outside, so. All right. Okay. Thanks, guys. Yeah, apologies. We've only got about 40 minutes to go, but I reckon it's the heat or something, or maybe it's affecting the internet or something. I don't know. But if it does go again, hopefully I'm back at some stage. All right. Respect to old mate. Anyone who has served this country deserves the utmost respect. Amen, Ryan. 100%, mate. And do what I do. Fly the Aussie flag loud and proud outside your house, mate. We don't see enough of it in this country. That's what sort of gives me the shits when I go overseas to America. Probably 80% of houses have got an American flag out the front. So it's one thing I did for our businesses, and my home has put the Aussie flag out. It's hard sometimes to have faith in where we're going, I will say, but keep the faith. Keep the faith. All right. Yes, Ado, sorry, Mark. Yep, hit the like. Yes, thank you. Where are we? I hope I'm still got people watching. Where are we? Got 48 people watching, so that's good. All right, Shadow Boxer. Any good tips of cleaning gloves? Okay, no matter what, they always stink. Only thing I do now is air them out outside in the sun, and that helps a little. Well, obviously the outside's pretty easy to clean your gloves. One tip if you do get gloves, one tip I used to have from my old trainer, it was putting, I think it was called neat foot oil. They use it for saddles for horses. And before you use them, when you get them, just put the neat foot oil over and let air them out for a day or two. Really, it seeps into the leather and really preserves them really well. As far as inside, yes, there is. I can't remember what they're called. I'm not on my Amazon account at the moment. I bought them through there ages ago. They're actually they're like 2 bean bags joined together by a string. There, Shadow Boxer, and you put one in each glove. Okay, like a big, almost like a ball bag almost, and you put one in each glove, and they're joined by a rope or something, and. Just checking on with, yeah, everyone's with me. Yep, just checking to see we've got viewers. So they go in each glove and they're scented. So when you put them in there, they keep the gloves nice and fresh, almost like an air freshener for your gloves. So you put them in, leave them in overnight. Well, whenever you stop using them, you put them in the gloves, and it keeps them nice and fresh and smelling good. But it also is obviously not a good idea to sometimes just air them out. Okay, you can't obviously wash them, but air them out and then put your air fresheners in. Next week, if you remind me, I'll check out what they're called, this thing. But I got them on Amazon. Just go on Amazon and put in I don't know, boxing glove air fresheners or something like that, and you'll find them. I think they're like $30 or $40, and they probably last 3 or 4 months. So good idea, mate. I've used them for ages. Drew says, I'm really looking forward to seeing a Sofart Solomano versus Lattimore. For most people, it's as appetizing as drinking a schooner with a pill in it. But two complete novices can be very entertaining. I reckon it'll be entertaining, Drew. I think they're not going to overmatch Solomano, I guarantee you. I've never seen Lattimore fight, but I've got a feeling he's going to be a lamb to the slaughter, I would think. So my pick is you're going to see a big knockout from Solomano. Just my early predictions. I've never seen either of these guys fight or play rugby and that sort of stuff. I just know the script, Drew, and I think you'll see a big knockout coming from Solomona, I would think. All right, who we got there? Carlo Capetta. How are you, Carlo? Zarafa loses, he goes nowhere. Nikita wins, he improves his ranking. Michael checking out with a few domestic paydays. Yeah, I don't think Michael sees it that way, though, Carlo. I think he genuinely thinks that he's going to beat Nikita and then move on to bigger things. And who knows, maybe he might. I don't think he's checking out with domestic paydays, mate. As I said before, I think he's taken this fight because he hasn't really got anything else going on anywhere else, whether it be here or overseas. Really good payday, I'm imagining. I'm not sure what the payday would be, but it would be solid, be nice and juicy for him, I think, for him to take the fight. And so he should get paid. The fight's going to attract a lot of money and a lot of attention. So 100% him and Nikita should both get paid very, very well. But yeah, I do agree if he loses, he goes nowhere. And I agree that if Nikita wins, he improves his ranking, all the rest of it. But I think this is more than just rankings and all that sort of stuff. This is purely a one-up on the other side, I think. Zarafa gets to stick it up the zoos, and Nikita gets to be the one that silences Zarafa for a lot of you Zarafa bashers out there. So, all right, Shadowbox says, what about Mendoza for Nikita? If he gets through Zarafa or Harrison, might be a tad early, I reckon. Shadowboxer might be 6 to 12 months, a bit early, I reckon. I think Nikita would need another couple of fights after this before looking at someone like that. Mendoza's still dangerous. Harrison, I know he's a little bit washed, but still dangerous as well. I would like Nikita to get to maybe 17, 18 fights before he looks at one of those guys. And he's fought pretty regularly over the journey, so, I mean, by the middle of next year, he could be at 15 fights, so maybe in the second half of the year they could look at it. But, yeah, I still think it's a bit early for those guys. As probably over the hill, not over the hill, but probably past their best. I still don't think they're right for Nikita at this stage. All right, Zarafa is actually a decent card, but they still can't sell $39 tickets. What's the problem? That's a good question, Robert. Well, I must admit, mate, I hadn't actually heard how the ticket sales are going. I suppose you could just jump on Ticketek and go in and look for tickets and see what tickets are left. That'll give you an idea of what's sold. But that's really surprising, Robert, that they can't sell $39 tickets. It is a Friday night too, so it's not midweek, anything like that. It's that time of year, although it is the end of school holidays and all that sort of stuff. It's still $39 tickets. I'm almost tempted to fly up there myself for it, but I've got to put the fight on in our pub that night. But yeah, that staggers me, Robert, if that is the case. $39 tickets and they can't sell them. That is crazy. Richard, what was the build-up like when you promoted Horn versus Zarafa in Bendigo? Mate, it was massive. And Michael at that time was completely unknown. Around the Aussie traps, people knew of Michael Zarafa. He'd obviously fought Cal Brook and Peter Quillen, and people sort of knew of him in the boxing sort of fraternity. But outside of that, no one had a clue who he was. Jeff Horn was obviously coming off, I think it might have been the Mundine fight he might have been coming off, actually. And before that, Crawford and Pacquiao, obviously, as well. So a big name in Aussie boxing. The build-up was massive, mate, because in Bendigo, it's a town of about 110,000, whatever it might have been. The media really got behind it. It was government-funded, all that sort of stuff. So it was really built up by the tourism, and local and state tourism mobs really got behind it. Michael did a great job promoting it as well. It was massive. We had 5,000 people at the fight. We could have easily sold another 1,000 tickets right up until the day of the fight, just getting inundated with people wanting tickets. That was no walk-ups or anything like that. It was 5,000, probably sold a week out from the fight, maybe even longer. It was sold out. So we had massive support as far as sponsors goes. And Rich, I was going to say, just looking at your name there, Richard Dean Lonigan. He was just unbelievable to watch him work. The amount of hard work he put in, not on the everyday sort of stuff. That was sort of my sort of job, dealing with the council and the combat board, and picking the fighters up and the media and all that sort of stuff was all my sort of my doing, dealing with the guys with the ring and the AV and all that sort of stuff. Dean really just focused on selling the fight, dealing with the broadcasters, and getting corporate support. He was brilliant at it. He was the best. And the support from businesses around the town and district, Richard, was just massive, and I'm sure he would have made a hell of a lot of money out of it. So, and the fight delivered more than anything, Richard. The fight really delivered. It was a hell of a fight. Mike was a Rafa, fought the fight of his life that night. Jeff Horn was game, but I was really happy for Michael that night. I was sort of more of a Jeff Horn man, but I was happy with Michael, or for Michael, after that fight, that he had his moment. And I remember being in the centre of that stadium. I would have been about a month or 5 weeks or something before that fight. I actually Michael drove up from Melbourne, and I met Michael just in Bendigo, and I took him around, did the media for the day, and I took him to the stadium to have a look at the stadium. And I remember him sort of standing in the middle of that. It was a basketball stadium, but with all the retracting seats and all that, you wouldn't have known it was just one big stadium. It was awesome. It was pretty new too, by the way, and that's why the Bendigo Council really got behind it, because they wanted big events there. And I remember him standing in the middle of the venue and just looking around and saying, I just can't believe that in whatever 4 weeks it is, I'm going to be in there with Jeff Horn, and I'm going to win this fight. And I must admit, I didn't think he'd be able to do it, but looking back, he had 100% faith that he was going to get the job done. And he was just looking around there, and he said, I'm going to beat Jeff Horn. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And the confidence that he had, and he obviously got the job done, fought the fight of his life. So, yeah, it was massive, Richard. And then, unfortunately, after that, after that fight, the powers that be said to Dean and I, hey, we want one of these events every year in Bendigo. We'll get behind it. It'll be bigger and better every single year. We want world title fights. We want this. We want that. And it was all systems go. And then COVID hit, and it all fell apart. And then during COVID, I don't know how they managed to do it, but I think it was Brian Amatruda and Mick Gatto from Big Time Boxing. They managed to put a fight on during COVID. That was the Zarafa, and Anthony Mundine fight. And apparently that was a success as well. But apparently, I don't know, a few things happened, and the council sort of went a bit sour when COVID was over. They weren't that stressed about having boxing anymore. I think there was a change in the people that were in charge of it, or whatever it might have been, and they just never really wanted to come back. And we've approached them a couple of times about doing some big fights there, and not interested, unfortunately. But that fight, mate, was massive. All right. Big J. Trust me, when Lila's boyfriend first came to the house, I mimicked the scene from Bad Boys 2. That's what I was thinking of, actually, when I said it before. When Reggie came to the door with a mate of mine, kid was scared to death, but he passed the test. Yeah, that's one of the best scenes in a movie I've ever seen, that. Drew, I recently saw an interview with a former boxing judge, and they said something that really gets up my nose. You have to really conclusively beat the champ to be the champ. Forward mentality. Yes, in theory, Drew, I agree. It should just be two fighters in the ring, and you judge it accordingly. But I suppose whoever that judge was just telling it the way it is. The judges will look at a fighter and think they have to actually take the belt from the champion. Not necessarily in agreement with that, but that is the mentality, mate, and not much we can do about it. And not just that, a lot of judges tend to just watch the favourite. You know, they're in the ring, and let's just say it's Alexander Usyk against a no-name. That you just get drawn to watching Alexander Usyk. It's just a natural thing to do, and the close rounds are always going to go to that fighter. But yeah, as I said, mate, I don't agree with it, but that's just the way they go. They judge. Do I hear you saying you were going to the Shakur Teo fight? Please say you will be vlogging it. I'm not sure I will at this stage, Aid. I would like to go January 31st. Might be a little bit too soon for me, mate. I would love to. It's a great card. Madison Square Garden. I was there twice this year for the Serrano and Taylor fight and the UFC. But at this stage, mate, I would doubt it. Nah, I'd love to go, but mate, if I lived overseas in the States, I would be a full-time vlogging YouTuber. I promise you, I'd be at the fights all the time, just consistently doing vlogs. But nah, mate, at this stage, no. All right. What's that, Big J? Yeah, what the hell's going on? Is it above 30 degrees? Yes, it is actually, Big J. It's 31 or something at the moment. Everything shuts down when it hits 30 in Victoria. Yeah, you're right, Big J. Everything does shut down, including us human beings. It's been a tough day. Been sitting inside with the air conditioner all day. The Queenslanders up there probably have beanies and a hoodie on when it's 30 degrees, wouldn't they? Drew, hang on. Where are you, Drew? Forget Desley Robinson for OnlyFans. I'm jumping into the vintage category again for Helen Mirren. Have you seen her in Mobland, Drew? Oh, she's really good in that as the wife of Pierce Brosnan in the Mob show. It's Mobland. Yeah, great show, and she's awesome in it. I wouldn't mess with her in that, Drew. I can tell you. Sorry if I'm drifting in and out too there, guys. What do you got there, Shadowboxer? You really should upload some testing drills you used to do back in the day when you've got the time, of course. Yeah, it's whether people want to see it, Shadowboxer. I've often thought about some tips and hints and that sort of stuff, but I don't know. I must admit, I just thought, well, who really wants to see this sort of stuff? They've all got trainers and coaches and that sort of stuff, I suppose. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if you send me some things you want some help with, I could maybe do some quick tutorials on YouTube or something, mate. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit hard to obviously do something just on YouTube, but I suppose I could do a few bits and pieces to help you out, mate. But keep the questions coming. Happy to help out. All right. Unknown Samoan. What do you got there, mate? You're out of order there, eh? Hang on. Ring Magazine top 10 pound for pound. 1 is Alexander Usyk. 2 is Naoya Inoue. 3, Bam Rodriguez. Okay. 4, Dmitry Bivol. 5, Artur Beterbiev. 6, Junto Nakatani. 7, Shakur Stevenson. 8, David Benavides. 9, Devin Haney. 10, Oscar Colosso. Oscar Colosso's in there. Now my top 10, if I can remember, I hope I haven't wiped it. I did have it on my phone somewhere. I probably wiped it. Yeah, I have. Sorry about that. I think I know it off the top of my hat though. Oscar Colosso is an interesting one. I'd probably have Jai. Oh, is that so 6? Yeah, I'd have Jai probably in front of Colosso. But who did I have in there? Not Jai. Hang on. Let's have a look there, guys. Rankings. Do they have a pound for pound? They do on that one. I'll have a quick look. So I would have Crawford. Well, you got to take Crawford out because he's retired. So that's obviously why Usyk's now number 1. All right, yeah. I would have Usyk. I'd have Inoue number 2. I would have probably Bivol number 3. Bam Rodriguez 4. Yeah, I don't know. I can go around. I can't remember who it was. But yeah, the Colosso one's interesting anyway. I wouldn't have him in there. Try HQ says they fought as elite amateurs and would make a good pro bout. Which one was that about? Oh, sorry. Juno currently ranked 20th and Jalalov ranked 21st. Sorry, I've missed. Oh, Justice. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yep. What's that, Mark? 23 degrees in Gerp at the moment. I'm going to have to put my beanie on tonight. Where's Gerp? All right, Drew. My biggest wish list for 2026 is Benavides versus Opataya. At this stage, I marginally lean towards a Benavides victory. Obviously, I hope it's not the case. Yeah, I'm going to do in the next 2 days, Drew, on walking boxing, unless something comes up that's really newsworthy, is to do a bit of a year in review, and I will be doing stuff like that. I will be doing just a recap of the Aussie scene for the year and the world scene. And then I'll do things like, the biggest fights of 2026, my favourite fights of 2026 as well, and just a few other bits and pieces as well. So I'll do all that over the next couple of days. Shadow Boxer, watched a Christy Martin doco on Netflix today. Had no idea she was stabbed 3 times and shot point blank. Tough lady. Extremely tough Shadow Boxer. Yep, she was stabbed and shot. Crazy, and she survived. Shadow Boxer. Really disappointed in the reasonably failed career of Robesi Ramirez. Was it a case of reverting to the pro game too late? His style not translating to the pros, or a combination of both? I forgot he even existed, Drew. Robesi Ramirez, yep. Vanished as quick as he came on the scene, didn't he? I don't know what's happened to him, but yeah, that is really disappointing. What do we got there? Darren, how are you? Darren, love your work. Yep, do you remember the Frank Ropers and Barry Michael fight? What did you think? I think it was the best fight yet. Unbelievable fight. Darren, Frank Ropers and Barry Michael actually took place on Ash Wednesday from memory at the Melbourne Town Hall. Now, I've spoken to Barry about that fight, and he said it's probably the toughest fight he ever had, even the Leicester fight. So he said it was stinking hot in the Town Hall, and toughest fight of it all. And Barry was in some tough fights. But yes, I do remember it well, Darren. Top 5 Rocky opponents. All right, what do you got there? Apollo Creed, Clubber Lang, Ivan Drago, Thunder Lips, and Tommy Gunn. No Spider Rico in there. Yeah, I agree there, Ryan, with all those. Apollo was number 1, Clubber number 2. I'd almost have Thunder Lips at number 3, wouldn't you? Drago 4, Tommy Gunn 5. I still say it all the time, Clubber Lang and the Rocky second fight was just the best choreographed fight I've ever seen in any boxing movie ever. They need actually a what do you call it? A Origin series. I know they've got the Rocky I Play Rocky, or whatever it's called, coming up about how they got Rocky made. I would like to see the backstory of Rocky and maybe some of these other guys. They could almost do a series on all these guys when you think about it. They could do because the reason I say that, by the way, is I think what was the one that I saw? It was on Paramount. It was about the making of The Godfather. And I know that's what they're doing with Rocky. But with all the Cobra Kai stuff and some other series out there, why couldn't they do a Rocky series? And I think Sylvester Stallone actually said he would love to do it, but he unbelievably doesn't own the rights to Rocky anymore. That is Irwin Winkler, I think. I think he's the one that owns the rights, and he said no. Because I think Sylvester Stallone said he would love to do an origin story of Rocky, how he got to where he was until the movie was made, and also how good would it be to see Apollo, Clubber, Ivan Drago, even Thunder Lips, not so much Tommy Gunn, but how good would it be to see stories of all those? You would think that in this day and age where the streaming services are so massive, they're bigger than the movies now, and that's why you see so many movie stars actually going into streaming services like Landman I'm watching at the moment. It's got Billy Bob Thornton, Andy Garcia, Demi Moore. I mean, 3 massive stars in a series. So with all the money they're throwing at the series now, why someone like Netflix or one of those wouldn't say, hey, we can do a series on all these guys. Even Mickey, the trainer. They could do spin-offs of all of them. It'd be fantastic. Drew says Rocky 3 was easily the best. The twist with Apollo training him, having to win the rematch and finding a different way to win. There was more laid and nuances in the story than the others. Well, you and I think exactly the same, Drew. I don't think it's a contest for me. Rocky 3, easily the best. I'm with you. The twist with Apollo training. I thought the story was great. Might have been a little rushed because they've pretty much put 2 fights. Like the Rocky 1 and 2, they had the 2 fights spread over 2 movies. This had 2 fights in the 1 movie. But I just think, as I said, the training montages, the fight sequences, just the whole excitement of the fight, the second fight with Clubber Lang, I just thought it was so brilliantly done. And even though it's 40 years old, over 40 years old now, I still think it's the best boxing movie ever made. The next one will be, for me, Rocky 2. I think it's so underrated. I love the fight sequence. Again, it wasn't realistic, but that doesn't matter. But the Rocky 2, I think the whole story of that and the fight at the end was absolutely brilliant. I would have Rocky 1 at number 3 and Rocky 4 at 4. But each to their own. And yes, Drew, there is no tomorrow. Yeah, give me the truth, damn it. I loved Adrian. She was one tough, lovable cookie. Well, she was the, I suppose, the catalyst in all the movies, wasn't she? Of being the motivation, even in the first one. You know, when he comes back from going down to the stadium and says, "I can't win. I just want to go the distance," and she's there in the bed with him. The second one, of course, when she says, "I just want you to win." The third one was the lecture on the beach. The fourth one is when she went to Russia. Yeah, she was a bit of a, she was the unsung hero of all those movies, wasn't she? All right, Shadow Boxer. What's your thoughts on Usyk versus Wilder? Pointless victory lap. Can't see the sense in it, Shadow Boxer. I think it's a nothing fight. I'm disappointed in Alexander Usyk, Shadow Boxer. I just don't see any point to this fight. I know Wilder's a big name, but does he really gain anything from this fight? I don't think he does. I mean, Wilder has lost, 4 of his last 5 fights. Hasn't won a big fight for about 7 or 8 years, really. So what's the point? He hasn't earned a shot. So for Usyk to choose Wilder over Fabio Wardley, I think it's a massive injustice. Fabio Wardley deserves to be the next opponent. And I don't get why the powers that be with Alexander Usyk don't see it the same way. I mean, go to Wembley. They probably sell 100,000 tickets at Wembley. He gets a pat on the back for giving the right person the right shot at the right time after not giving Joseph Parker his shot. He did it with Daniel Dubois. He's done it with others. Why wouldn't he give Fabio Wardley a shot? And I don't agree that it's not marketable. I think it's very, very marketable, the fight with Wardley. So it's not like he's from some country that is not a real boxing sort of country. This is England, where they'll get 100,000 people to Wembley to watch it. Doesn't make much sense to me, Shadow Boxer. I think Usyk wins that fight pretty easily, to be honest. But maybe he just wants an easy defense. He's had a few tough ones, so maybe that's why. Just have a drink there. All right, unknown Simone. Well, it looks like we're on the Rocky train at the moment. Rocky 3 and 4 are the best of the series. Ivan Drago was an unbelievable athlete. My only criticism of Rocky 4 was that we were starting to get into comic book territory. That was my only thing with that one. The first two, obviously, especially the first one, was, well, as realistic as they come as far as the storyline goes, and you can sort of relate to it. The second one, of course, the redemption, the rematch, all that sort of stuff, and him, beating the odds and winning. The third fight, he had to have that bigger challenge than what Apollo Creed was. Hence, I think the name on the poster, or the phrase on the poster, was the ultimate. No, it was the greatest challenge, and I think the ultimate challenge might have been Ivan Drago. But yeah, the Ivan Drago fight for me, man, it was just it was too comic book for me. And I didn't like Ivan Drago or Dolph Lundgren as a fighter either. I thought he looked a little bit mechanical, and whereas Clubber Lang and Apollo Creed, they're the characters, of course, but Mr. T and Carl Weathers they were so good in the role and looked like they actually had real good boxing ability, which is something you don't get in other movies. Glenn, how are you, mate? Is the Fundora Keith Thurman fight still happening? Not at this stage, Glenn. I read something about this the other day, and they said that there's no date that's been agreed to. Nothing. There's been no movement whatsoever. So apparently, this is a fight that was supposed to happen in October, I think it was. So that was it the bicep or whatever it was for Fundora, the hand or whatever it was. So I mean, that's 2 months ago. So I'm not quite sure what's happening there, Glenn. But at this stage, no word. No, they don't know when it's going to happen. There was talk it's going to be the end of January, but still no word. Drew, I understand that Usyk and Wilder feels like a foregone conclusion, but as Foreman proved against Mora, the power is the last thing to go. I see it only one way, but the power is always there. No, it's a good point, Drew. Yep, no, I'm not going to count him out entirely. I just think Usyk might be just a bit too clever. A lot more clever than what Mora was against Foreman anyway. But you're right, the power is always the last to go, and Wilder still got that right hand that could knock out an elephant. I think Usyk just wants his name on his resume. That would complete, the big heavyweights of his era done. Yeah, that's a good call there, Samoan. So it would be Fury twice, Joshua twice, Dubois as well, and then you throw in Wilder. So, yeah, he's pretty much knocked them all off, hasn't he? So, yeah, maybe that's why. Yeah, Shadowbox. I'm still annoyed we never got Joshua and Wilder. I'm with you there, mate. They had to put Wilder in with Parker on that undercard, didn't they? Was that the Joshua and Otto Wayland card, I think it was? Why they would put Wilder in with Joseph Parker? They could have picked 10 other guys that would have been very beatable, and they put him in with a former world champion. It's got me bugging, and we missed out on that. And you think about it, we always talk about the Joshua and Fury fight not happening. It still might, by the way, but not happening. And then you've got Joshua and Wilder as well, which is, I won't say as big as a travesty as the Joshua Fury fight, but how big that would have been if they actually had got it on as well. So two massive fights we haven't got. Big J, believe it or not, Dolph Lundgren has a master's degree in chemical engineering and had an IQ of about 150 and is a karate master. He was studying in Sydney when he was approached for Rocky 4. Yeah, it was a bouncer or something, wasn't he, Big J, I think they said. So I did hear he had a degree in something, but yeah, very smart guy. I actually met Dolph Lundgren at the 96 Olympics, of all places. He was the strength and conditioning coach, or one of the strength and conditioning coaches for the US team. And I think I was having a spa and a sauna or a massage or something anyway. And I was just coming out, and it might have been a massage, I reckon. And I was coming out, and Dolph Lundgren's standing there with 3 or 4 US athletes. And I was like, wow. Dolph Lundgren, he was really good, actually. Ended up sitting across the aisle from him on one of the buses going to one of the events as well. Actually, might have even been the opening ceremony, I think. Whatever it was. No, it wouldn't have been the opening ceremony because it would have been the Aussie team together. But it was something else. I ended up sitting across from him on the bus. But it seemed like a good guy. Wasn't very talkative. Was polite and everything else, but just sort of like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, thank you. Off he went. But that was my brush with Dolph Lundgren. Big guy too. Big guy. All right, Drew. I get the impression that Usyk is choosing Wilder for historical name value. Yep, the value of Wilder holds no value anymore, but years from now, he will have it on his resume as a once prominent name. Yes, I agree, Drew. That's probably the only reason, is just for the name factor. Yep, I get it. But he still hasn't earned a shot. I suppose if anyone's got the ability and the right, I suppose, to be able to say, well, I'm going to take the fight I want, not the fight that I should take and the fighter that's deserved. I'm going to take the fight that I want to have. He's fought Fury twice, Joshua twice, and Dubois fights all in mandatories and all the rest of it, and he's got the job done in all of those fights. So yeah, maybe he has earned the ability to choose any guy he wants, and he's chosen Wilder for that reason you just said there. Possible scenario is Usyk versus former champ Wilder before 3 times undisputed versus WBO belt hold up before retirement, maybe because it looks good on paper. See, I don't subscribe. I get what you're saying there, Andy, but I don't subscribe to the whole 3-time undisputed belt holder because he's not really winning or unifying or winning the undisputed or unifying the belts. He's just beating the guy that he handed the belt to that he should have fought in the first place. Does that make sense? So it's not like he's lost to Wardley or lost to anybody else and is coming back and winning it for a 3rd time. He was stripped of a belt. Now he's just fighting the guy that was given the belt. The guy should have fought in the first place, but he's just fighting that guy and just getting his belt back. So I don't really see it as being 3 times undisputed. I know it'll look good on his resume and all the rest of it, but technically I don't see it that way because he hasn't won the undisputed belt 3 times. So if that probably doesn't make sense, but whatever. Shadowboxer. Carl Weathers' footwork was actually pretty solid when he was dancing around. It was very, very solid, Shadowboxer, especially the second movie, Rocky 2. I thought he looked fantastic. Just the training in his little gym there. I remember he was skipping and knocking out the sparring partners and doing bag work and that sort of stuff. He could have been a good football. Anything looks good on camera, I suppose, but it looked to me like he could have been actually a pretty good fighter. But he really pulled it off. I mean, you see so many movies where it just looks ridiculous. And the Creed movies, I'll point straight at. Those fights in those Creed movies just look ridiculous. I think it's an insult to the Rocky brand to have those attached. That Michael B. Jordan, not as bad as Jake Gyllenhaal in Southpaw, but just looks stupid, ridiculous, trying to be a fighter. And the fights look so forced and scripted. What I loved about the Rocky movies was, not to say they looked realistic, but they looked so well choreographed. So good. So, and Carl Weathers, especially, as I said, mate, in that second movie was unbelievable. Ryan, Usyk gets Wilder out of there early. Retired defeating the best in his era. That's Usyk's mindset. What a legacy. Yeah, well, would he get him out of there early? I'm not so sure. I think he could definitely stop Wilder, but I think for the first few rounds, you might find he's pretty cautious, I would think. All right, Drew. Keith Thurman had the trash talk game and charisma to once be a crossover star, but the injuries and frustrating lack of activity really cruelled those chances. Losing the 40-year-old Pac-Man didn't help. Well, he never really recovered, did he, Drew? Because he had like 2 or 3 fights in 6 years or 6.5 years. Just amazing. And to think he's going to fight or potentially fight for the world title. Crazy. So he didn't fight for 3 years. Comes back and beats Brock Jarvis and gets a world title shot. This is what's wrong with boxing. Right there. Just getting it purely because of your name. I get it with Pacquiao getting the Barrios fight because of the legend loophole or whatever it was they said. But Keith Thurman, after beating Brock Jarvis after 3 years out and gets a world title shot above the other guys, doesn't make much sense to me. But again, that's boxing. Good on you, Big J. We'll see you next year, mate. Don't forget to subscribe to Big J. Aussie Boxing Talk. Hit you right between the eyes. Drew, if you could choose the most wasted career and talent, who would you choose? Gary Russell Jr., Demetrius Andrade, or Andre Durrell? Ooh, that's almost a 3-way tie there, Drew. I think you could make an argument for all of them. Maybe Andrade? Maybe, although he did get the shot with Benavides, didn't he? Maybe Gary Russell Jr. I don't know. You could make a case for all of them. Right, a couple of comments to go and we'll call it a night. Best line in Rocky 2, Big J, was, "I ain't going down no more." Yep. What was it? He's an Italian tank or bulldozer or whatever it was. No, he's Italian tank, wasn't it? "You're a tank. Run over him." Yeah, and I like that line too, Mark, because when he said, "I ain't going down no more," is when the music started. And that's when it really got into the fight sequences to the music. That was awesome. So, yeah. So just a quick one, guys, before we go. So the next 2 days, make sure you check out Walking Boxing, because I am going to do a tie-up of the Aussie boxing scene and the world boxing scene, just the greatest hits. If I go through absolutely everything, we'll be there all day. So I'll just go through all the major fights of the month, each month of the year. As I said before, I'll give sort of my fights I would like to see, maybe who are going to be the breakout stars, who has something to prove, all that sort of stuff for 2026. But should be a fair bit happening next year, hopefully. What else we got there? I think that's about it. Guys, look, we are about 6 or 7 minutes away from 9 o'clock. But we'll just run for a few more minutes and see what else we've got. If not, we'll call it a night. Andy, I agree with you there on Usyk. I'm just thinking the why Usyk may be doing what he's doing. Realistically, he could retire tomorrow. He's ticked all the boxes he has to tick already. Yep, I agree there, Andy. And yeah, he's done absolutely everything, and just a legend of the sport. Be interesting to see how he's sort of looked at in the history of boxing going forward. What light he'll be shown in, because he's really that sort of perplexing guy. I mean, for what he's done for heavyweight boxing and undefeated and all and the fighters he's beaten, he probably should be in the vicinity of the top 10, no problems. But will he be? Or will he have to wait another 30 or 40 years before he's looked at and said, nah, this guy should have been top 10? It's a really interesting one, how he'll be viewed. Also, the Mount Rushmore comments yesterday got a bit of feedback as well. So at some stage, give me your thoughts on that. All right, guys, well, I'm going to call it a night there. Thanks, everyone that tuned in tonight. Always really appreciate everyone coming on. This will be the last show of the year, obviously. So, yes, Brian, go the Mighty Baggers. Yep, the Blues. Really appreciated everyone's viewership this year. comments, remarks, just watching, even if you didn't comment. Really appreciate it. The channel has really grown this year. We get more and more people watching every week, and our subscriptions, subscriptions have been growing slowly, but they're still growing every single week. So I really appreciate that as well. And hopefully 2026 will be bigger again. So guys, thank you very much. Have a very, very happy and safe New Year's, and we'll catch you in 2026. See you then.